Best Podcast Ever is sponsored by the Gertzberg Law Firm, a full-service business law firm in Cleveland and Chagrin Falls that's changing the way businesses retain their attorneys. Go to gertzberglaw.com to learn more. While you're there, check out Cover My Six, a complete legal audit of the 6 areas that most often create or prevent business lawsuits and government investigations. Go to covermysix.com to learn how we keep you safe. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to listen to the best podcast ever recorded.
Discounting and advertising is a tax you pay for being average.
I love that. Hey folks, Alex Gertzberg here. You're about to get a real treat. The interview I did with John DiJulius is a really good one. I really enjoyed it. John, I went through John's background with him. He's worn a lot of hats, so I'm not going to spend too much time going into it here, other than to say that he is the entrepreneur's entrepreneur. He is the authority on customer service. He's an author. He's a keynote speaker. He's a consultant. He is head of the DiJulius Group, John Roberts Spa, and a really amazing nonprofit called Believe in Dreams that fulfills dreams for economically disadvantaged youth. And he has an energy about him and a creativity about him that's really contagious and that is pretty inspiring. We cover a lot of ground here. We talk about his passion for customer service. We talked about what his journey to entrepreneurship was, including his finishing dead last in high school and failing out of college, and how he started the business, how he failed in his business, and how he has really turned his organization into this world-class customer service structure. So it's pretty inspiring. We learned a really great acronym. The acronym is FORD, F-O-R-D. I'm not going to tell you here what it stands for, but I will tell you that I've been using it, and it's pretty impactful. We talk about how you train people to use empathy. We talked about the difference between energy givers and energy suckers, victim mentality. I know you're going to get a lot out of this interview. I know I did. So enjoy. John DiJulius, how are you?
I'm awesome. Thank you. How are you?
Fantastic. You always have such a positive, energetic thing about you. In the few times we've interacted, there's been an energy there that I've noticed. It's palpable. It's contagious. Do other people tell you the same thing?
I hope so. It's funny. I have a carpe momento statement.
Yeah.
Carpe momento, seize the moment, and it's provide a positive, energizing moment. And I had to add the word positive in there because I'm always energizing, but at times it could be negative, right? I can ruin a moment with my one of my sons at home, or I can come into work and, bark at something, and, that energy can go both ways. So it's actually on my phone. Provide a positive, energizing moment because I want to be cognizant of it. And that could just be, meeting someone in an elevator and complimenting their shoes.
Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely contagious.
Well, good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so John, I first learned who you were when I started going to the John Roberts salon in Mayfield. My stylist was Jen G, and she was amazing. And the first thing I notice is that's different about that place relative to any other place I've ever gotten a haircut is there's a hand and arm massage. There's a scalp massage.
All legal, by the way.
Right. Everything totally legit. I noticed that everybody was extra nice to me the first time I was there. Not that ever changed, but it was I definitely felt special. And so throughout this interview, I'm going to keep asking you how that came about, how that experience came about. And, but there is definitely a direct line from that first experience to today, because it was from there that I learned about all the different ways that you run your business relative to other businesses. But then you are a customer service expert. I'll say it. You don't have to use that word. I'll say it. I watched your video at an airport on a LinkedIn. I emailed you out of the blue. You responded. We met. There's all this stuff out there. You definitely have a passion for customer service. So I want you to walk us through the different phases of your life and your education and your professional life. Why customer service? How did you make that a part of your experience, your personal journey? And start from the beginning.
So my dad left my mom and six of us when I was only 6, and I was a hyper crazy kid. And my mom's working 2 jobs, and wasn't there to keep a handle on me. So which meant I goofed off, got in trouble, and wasn't a good student, and struggled, and graduated dead last in high school, and then I went off to college and flunked out. Eventually went back and graduated after 7 years. But I always wanted to own my own business. Didn't know what it would be, but I just, thought it was going to be like a sporting goods store, because the only thing I liked was sports. And the only thing I could figure out that I could do is open a sporting goods store. Met my wife, and she was this fabulous hairdresser. And so, after we had our first son, I opened so I was driving a truck for UPS at the time, making great money for me. This is in the late 80s, early 90s. And, coming from where I came from, a UPS driver was great money, but I hated it. Every day I went to work saying in 29 more years, 3 months and 2 days, I could retire, because good company, but just wasn't what I wanted on my tombstone. And so my wife's talents, I saw that as a vehicle, because to me, I had golden handcuffs at UPS. I couldn't go anywhere and make what I was making as a driver. So we opened this salon for her, hoping that if it takes off, I could quit this good paying job and start my sporting goods store, whatever I was going to do. And it actually went backwards. We failed and didn't know what we were doing as entrepreneurs. And so I had to jump in it full time. And
jump into what full time?
The salon.
Okay.
So we had hired some friends of hers that she went to beauty school with 5 years earlier. And, now we have 4 hairdressers that are really busy hairdressers. And I thought, oh my God, we're going to, crush it. And our business plan, I don't know if I showed it to you when you came to my office. It's framed. It's very sophisticated. It's 6 cocktail napkins. That when we used to be out, we'd say, yeah, write that down. Be nice to customers, take care of employees. And really not sexy stuff, but it was what we really meant. And the industry, the beauty industry, was not a great, considered a great job. There was no benefits, no health insurance, no vacation, no training. So we were going to change all that. Well, 6 weeks after we opened, the other 3 quit and wanted nothing to do with our words on a cocktail napkin.
Why?
Because it just wasn't, the traditional hairdresser came and, go when if you canceled, they'd go out for a smoke break or call their boyfriends. And if they saw their client in someone else's chair, like if you called up and say, I need an appointment with Jen G, and she was booked, we say, we can, her neck's available or Haley's available. Well, we thought that was good customer service. The hairdresser back then went nuts.
Right.
If she saw you in Haley's chair, she'd cause a scene. That's my client. So it was like, oh my God. Yeah. So after that, we literally thought we were going to go out of business, be the shortest business ever. And we just sat down and said, listen, we'd rather go out of business than compromise what we wanted. So that's when we did something that no one had ever done back then. We stopped hiring hairdressers with experience and only took them right out of beauty school with no training, no clientele. And we put them through a training for a year before they were allowed to take clients.
So how long ago is this?
1993.
And you've got one store at that point.
Very small, 900 square foot.
Where is it?
Mayfield Road, next to the police station in Mayfield Heights.
Okay. Correct something for me or confirm it.
Yeah.
You at this point are managing a hair salon. Are you a hairdresser at this time?
I go to beauty school at this time.
Okay.
I'm 28 years old in beauty school with 19, 20, 21-year-olds, and I'm miserable. And I didn't like the beauty industry, like from a standpoint of like, I didn't want to be in it. I didn't look at you and say, oh my God. Like I was a baseball player in college, truck driver, and the last thing I ever wanted to do was be in the beauty industry.
So you're a UPS driver.
Yeah.
And you went to beauty school.
Yeah.
For the purpose of starting and growing a hair salon, not for the purpose of working in it. Do I have that right?
No. So here's the plan. We have 4 chairs at the time, and we have one son who's like 1.5, and we want to have more kids. And now I realize after that experience with the other 3 hairdressers that if we ever want to have more kids, that's going to take my wife out of it.
Yeah. And
so who's going to run the business? And never thinking we're going to have more than 4 chairs. I wish I could tell you I had this grand, elaborate scheme. I thought, that's it. And so I figured if I go get my license, which I didn't want to do hair, kicking and screaming. I had a horrible perception of the beauty industry, just ignorant at the time, that if I go, then that's 50% of the staff. I don't have to worry about how they take care of the customer, that they come in hungover, that they don't come in at all, that they don't steal from me, everything I had just experienced. And then if my wife has to take 3 months off,
right,
I'm there. That was a total selfish, no other reason that I wanted to do it other than to have someone in that business. Now we've opened this business. Now we better make it work.
Wow. So how long is beauty school?
9 months.
Okay. So they've quit. You're now, you make the decision you're going to hire just new.
Yeah, we hire a couple assistants out of beauty school with no training, and they becomes my wife's assistant, and they start becoming mini me's. And we, it's like the law, right? If I'm fresh out of school versus if I've been doing law at a law firm for 15 years, I'm sure it's a lot harder to tell me how to do it your way. Dude, I've been, doing law, I've been crushing it, right? Yeah. You're not going to tell me. Versus if I'm fresh out of law school, if you tell me to stand on my head when a client walks in, okay, right, I'm going to do it. Right. There's a trade-off, right? I'm not bringing business. They're not bringing business.
It makes perfect sense, though, because I find now that when I bring in lawyers from other law firms, I have to deconstruct them. I have to deprogram them. Yeah. In order to get them to buy into the way we do things.
Right.
And so that
we have egos.
Yes.
We think we were very successful. Yeah. Why do I need to change? So we never hired another hairdresser with experience again, which was the opposite. You'd only hire people with a clientele. So people thought we were really going to go out of business now because we're hiring, non-revenue producing staff. But it was the opposite. It just blew up. And then I went to beauty school. I come out and have to be an assistant at my salon for a year, fold and foil, shampooing, which was, very hard. But now, the space next to us goes out of business. So we knocked the wall down and acquire that. Now we're 12. But space next to us 6 months, a year later, goes out of business, knocked the wall down, and now we're 2,500. Then, we moved to the massive place at Eastgate. Mm-hmm. And then, over 26 years have opened up locations in several places.
So let's go through the high points and the low points of those 26 years, right? Yeah. So first, as a baseline, 26 years ago, you're one store in Eastgate.
Mayfield Road.
Mayfield Road is
shopping center
where you started, but then you moved to Eastgate?
In 99. So 6 years later.
Okay. Today, 2019, how many stores?
4.
4 stores. How many employees?
150.
Okay. And you also, and we're going to drill into this later, you also have a foundation.
Believe in Dreams.
Yes.
Nonprofit.
Okay. And the DiJulius Group is this sort of parent organization that runs the salons and spas and the, do I have this wrong? You're shaking your head. Tell me.
So you've got 3 companies.
Yeah.
John Roberts Spa, 26 years old. The DiJulius Group, about 21 years old. And that's just a customer service consulting company. That's all it is.
Right.
And then Believe in Dreams.
Okay.
That's 6 years old.
So let's just talk about from purely a scaling standpoint, right? Can you remember the times when you felt you were about to scale in a meaningful way? Maybe it's when you went from one store to two stores, but like, was there a critical mass where suddenly there was a giant influx of either revenue or clients or business or whatever to make that first jump?
Every time we expanded, and the first time it was 300 square feet, then it was 1,200 more square feet. Every time we expanded, we thought, oh, this is going to take care of us for the next 10 years. And it was too small. And, we outgrew it within a couple months, half a year. And we're like, oh my God. And then when we opened the Eastgate, I thought we were nuts. The banks thought we were nuts. Like, we had a really hard time getting financing because we were going from like 2,200 square feet to 8,000. And nothing said that, there's a guarantee that you're going to quadruple in business.
Yeah.
And so in 1999, when we expanded to the Eastgate location, we just exploded. Like, it was build it and they will come, and they came. And that's when we realized we got something here, and I think we can take it to multiple markets and grow it that way. So that was the first sign that, this really is working, and it's not just a little business that we can just keep on turning a closet into a spa room.
Can you attribute that first jump to something that you were doing differently?
The customer experience and the employee experience. We were obsessed. So one of the reasons why we were obsessed is, all right, so my wife is in the industry, and I'm, married to her, and she used to come home and she wasn't happy. And, she'd say, I have to go somewhere and pay for my own education. I'm like, why do you have to pay? Oh, they don't do that here. And, if we take a vacation, don't get paid. Well, why don't you get paid? And so she's losing coworkers, but not in our business, that she had worked with, who were great at their jobs, but they were quitting and loved doing hair, but they were quitting to get real jobs, going to Progressive, going to be a dental hygienist, because there wasn't the pay and the benefits. The cosmetology industry wasn't thought as a real job. So we're like, we can change that. And that was the real concept behind let's open a business that takes care of customers, and no salon took care of customers well, and that takes care of their employees. And that was our cocktail napkins. And then gave back to the community. From day one, those were the three pillars: to enhance the quality of lives around us, employee, guest, community, in that order.
You just gave a couple of examples with respect to the employees, giving them vacation time, paying for their education. What were some early examples of your obsession with your clients?
So kind of what you mentioned, being there, being present, doing silly things back then, which is silly today, but no one did it back then. Calling you up the day before and reminded you of your appointment. Now, I will tell you, I use this example today. People got mad. Any idea why? If I called you up and said, I want to remind you of your 3:00 tomorrow.
I can speculate, but
they were insulted.
Yeah, because they
I know my schedule.
Right.
Thank you. You don't need to remind me. So we changed one word. I want to confirm your 3:00, and they loved it. So we found out how every word matters.
Instead of remind,
confirm, and they say absolutely. And do you have time for a manicure? And it was like, versus them being insulted. We're upselling now. So is that? You talked about how you got the royal treatment on your first experience. So we did the white capes. So if you go into any John Roberts salon, you're going to see a bunch of people in black and white capes. To you, the guest, that means we have black and white capes. To our team member, anyone in white has never been there before. Black, you're an old friend. So if I'm walking by you, I don't know you, I'm like, hey, great to see you again. And 6 people do that to you, you feel really good. White cape, I walk up to you and say, hey, I'm John. I'm Suzanne. I'm a nail technician. I just want to welcome, hope your first experience. Can I get you coffee? Kind of like how your office did for me. And then people were just like, is there a sign on my back? And like, no, we just pay attention here. So, we've been able to leverage that white cape in almost every business. But little things like that, sending thank you cards, giving them a $5 gift card every time they referred people. And then one of the most popular things we ever did right away is we started a referral contest. And besides getting a $5 gift certificate every time you referred someone, if you referred the most in the calendar year, first year you won a day of pampering. And that got us like 12 or 14 referrals from the winner. And we were happy. And then everyone else had 11 and 9. So the next year we contacted a travel agency back when there was travel agencies and got them to donate a cruise for 2. So we had 36 referrals and by the winner. Next year, we got a Lexus dealership to donate a convertible for a year. And the person that won that year had 96 referrals. The person that came in second had 94, 92, 80. It was more than we can handle. It was a problem.
I'm sorry, these are clients winning these things or employees
Clients.
So whichever client referred the most got these prizes.
So you're going home yelling at your wife saying you have to go, telling your buddies, buying everyone in your office a gift certificate to get them to go there and make sure you put my name. And then we're telling you, hey, Alex, it's June. Hey, Alex, we just want to let you know you're one of the top. So then you'd be working harder for the end of the year.
Can you think of why you felt this obsession with customers and the customer experience and customer service? Because you could have been just any business owner.
Right.
But you grew your business and scaled your business because of that obsession.
Right.
Why did you have that obsession in the first place?
So I always loved people. I always, for whatever reason, before I realized I was a student of business, and I'd go to a restaurant and have interaction and always wonder why. Like, why did she just tell me no? She could do that. I would always just be a little bit annoyed. So I always had that in me. I couldn't enjoy a simple experience without dissecting it and saying why, my wife would yell at me and stuff. But then it was a necessity. So we open up a salon, like a law firm, on the street here. How many salons are up and down the street? A dozen. And so when we opened up on Mayfield in 1992, you could throw a rock if you had a bad arm and hit a half a dozen salons within distance. So we didn't have the money. We couldn't open up and build a nicer place than our competitors. We didn't have customers. We didn't have money for advertising. We had no employees. And so the only thing I thought that we can compete on was to give them an escape, give them an experience that, be it 45 minutes to 3 hours, that they had to have again and they talk about. And that was really it. Now you fast forward 10, 15, 26 years later, we do have deeper pockets and we still don't advertise. We do the same thing. We put it back in the training. My favorite quote to this is discounting and advertising is a tax you pay for being average.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so true.
It hurts too.
That's so true.
Right.
Yeah. I have this theory. It's a working theory that I try to apply all the time or observe in other businesses and other business owners, which is that people who are able to deliver a really great experience on an emotional level today in their well-scaled businesses and their mature businesses are people who have a natural empathy, people who are able to understand how their words, their body language, their tone, their actions affect other people on an emotional level. And that is actually, yes, it's a skill that you can improve, but it is also something that some people just have. It's a working theory. It could be rank speculation, but do you feel that?
I do think it's both.
Yeah.
I do think it's both. I think it's innate with a lot of people, but now, with the relationship economy, now that we're in the touchscreen age, people have less inherent people skills than you or I, and I'm lumping you in my generation, which is totally unfair, but you and I were forced to have. These kids, and when I say kids 30 and under, don't have the inherent people skills that we were forced to have. When you train them, because I have 100+ millennials, best generation I've ever had. People diss them, talk. I like the millennials better than my generation. And it's crazy. When you train them on this, they light up. They light up. And the currency for millennials is purpose. They will not trade hours for dollars. But if you make their job around something bigger, they are crazy. They will make bigger sacrifices and give up better deals on paper than my generation ever would have. But you got to tie their job to a purpose.
How do you do that?
We have a purpose, right? Each company has a purpose, and we story tell and we talk about the impact it makes. And so, our mission is to enhance the quality of lives around us for the John Roberts business. But the service vision is to be the best part of someone's day. And that could be you calling up in our call center, being the friendliest person you spoke to today. And knowing that you're Alex and saying, Alex, how you been? And did anybody notice that haircut you got in April, right? I mean, that's all. We don't have to Google that. That's all in front of us. Yeah. And then when you walk in, we say, Alex, welcome back. Now, what we have to do is teach them why that's important. So we have, in all our businesses, and what we teach other businesses is the first thing we do is we create a day in the life of our guest. So we show the Alexes of the world and the 42-year-old housewife who's coming in. Because in every business, there's a disconnect. The customer-facing employee is typically not the customer, okay? So our business, our average age of our hairdresser is probably 27. The average age of our guests is 38 to 55, female. So if I'm a 25-year-old hairdresser, female, what do I know what it's like to be a 45-year-old anything? Doesn't mean we change who we hire, but we got to teach them what's on a plate of a 45-year-old male or female. So we show them literally a video from the moment someone wakes up till they pull into our parking lot. The fires that your wife has to get up at 4:45 to get a workout in before she makes breakfast, lunch, gets the kids off to school. Then she has to go to her job, and she has to deal with angry clients, a demanding boss, and all those things. And so we kind of take them on an emotional roller coaster that when that person pulls into the parking lot of our place, it makes you more present, more compassion and empathy that they need to you to be the best part in their day, because they're dealing with some crap.
I walked into your headquarters over there, and everybody knew my name. And I looked to my left, and there's my picture on a video screen that had been up there for some period of time.
It's still up there. They love you.
Get out of here. But I mean, to your point, I mean, what a great way to make somebody's day.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think on an emotional level, that was the high point of my day, just because you suddenly have a whole group of people that you've never met all calling you by your first name.
And then it makes their job more fun.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just some stranger that's walking in and, they're uncomfortable and they may not, walk by you if they're not greeting you. Now they know the strange looking dude, don't mean it as an insult, unfamiliar looking guy. Oh, that's Alex. He has a 3:00 with John, and he's from, and they enjoy that.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I got to tell you, John, I think that is so rare to give your employees that kind of anticipation and that kind of look into their client's sort of persona. I tell my people that when a client walks into this office, it is usually because they are handing to us the most stressful thing in their life, whether it's them getting sued or them starting a business, right? And we owe it to them to give the same gravity and care that they would want someone to give their child when they hand their child over to them. And I sense that you do the same. That and based on what you're telling me, that's exactly what you do with this video and communicate.
And you're a grudge buy, right? I mean, people, a salon, Starbucks, the Ritz-Carlton weekend there, that's not a grudge buy, right? Those are things we all look forward to. But waking up and seeing I have a flat tire, right? Going to the dentist, paying for insurance, and going to meet with my lawyer.
Right.
Those aren't things that I want to spend money on.
Right.
But even worse, want to give up the next 2 hours of my day
100%.
on. But I also think grudge buys, you have a chance to be a hero. unlike the salon. People are expecting a great, experience. The bar's kind of high already, and hopefully we deliver it and they're happy and they want to come back. But a grudge buy is usually people are in a very vulnerable state. Yeah. And if you're compassionate and present, and you can wear the cape, we say you can wear the cape today and be their hero. You got their back. You're the big brother walking through the playground with them, not going to let anybody mess with them.
Yeah. You said a phrase just now. You said the relationship economy. We're in a relationship economy. What does that mean?
So the digital disruption we're having, technology has brought us a lot of great advancements. And I love all that. I love technology. I'm guilty as anyone with all the gadgets. But there's come at a cost. And we have less people skills. We have less inherent people skills. The human experience is coming at the cost. And so in a couple ways, one, in business, some businesses are going too far to the high-tech, no-touch. So there's a restaurant in Boston that is totally automated. Robots, everything. There's no human being there.
Wow.
I don't know if you've heard this, but artificial intelligence, they're creating judges for artificial intelligence. That blew my mind. So artificial intelligence is creeping into everyone's thing. So there's a balance that the best businesses have to marry the digital with the human, because like you said earlier in your words, it's the emotional connection that drives the loyalty, and technology and app isn't going to make an emotional connection with you. But the other thing is the best businesses need to know that this generation is not going to have the inherent people skills, and that they have to have relationship 101 as part of their training, because they just aren't going to have it.
How do you teach that? How do you teach it to companies? So you described your 3 businesses, and one of them is consulting to other companies. How do you teach companies, your clients, to succeed, survive, exploit the relationship economy?
So the first thing we love in discovery is we say if you hired, someone today at any capacity, be a law clerk, a receptionist, a lawyer, whatever it may be, and this goes for any business, how much training do you give them before they interact? You allow them to interact with your customer, right? And customer could be internal, it could be external. So some people say 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. That's not the number I'm looking for. So let's say it's 48 hours, 200 hours, 2,000 hours. This is the number I'm looking for. Of that 2,000 hours, how much of it is technical, operational, product knowledge, processes, and how much is rapport building, teaching empathy and compassion, teaching how to make a brilliant comeback when we drop the ball. And in almost every business, it's 99.9% operational, technical. And their soft skill training is, see that sign in the kitchen in the back, it says, we're client first, go above and beyond, do that. And you tell, 100 people to, go above and beyond, be customer obsessed, you'll get 100, it's all based on their filter system. So we help them, teach them how to increase the service aptitude of everyone from the CEO to the janitor to the warehouse guy. And service aptitude is not innate. It's not something we're born with. It comes from 3 primary places. Previous life experience. So most of us didn't grow up driving a Mercedes-Benz when we turned 16, staying at 5-star resorts, flying first class, or getting $120 haircuts. Yet our first jobs and the expectations of us and the expectations we have of our employees when they start working is that they can deliver that type of experience. They can't do it. They don't know what world-class looks like, yet we're expecting them. So that's unrealistic. The second place service aptitude comes from is previous work experience. And unless you have a direct pipeline to former Ritz-Carlton, Disney, and Chick-fil-A employees, which none of us do, that means your future employees have worked somewhere else, probably not at a world-class place. And their boss taught them to be paranoid and suspicious. And now you get them and you interview me and I seem like a really nice kid, but I treat your next client, who's your platinum VIP client, like he's trying to get away with something. So you can't control those first 2 things. The only thing we can control is the third place, what we do with them after we hire them. And we have to have, it doesn't have to be equal hours, operational, technical, but there has to be a good representation of soft skill, relationship building. And I don't know if we've ever discussed this, but everyone we teach and our staff, when they're talking to you, has to focus on your Ford. Ford isn't like the car, F-O-R-D. Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams.
You're saying you want the employee to focus on their
I want my
customers?
boys. If you meet my sons, they will know that after they have a conversation, be it 3 minutes or 30 minutes, first thing I'm going to ask them is Ford, because we are Ford, F-O-R-D. Yes, it is a training for customers, but it's a training for leaders to their employees. It's a stranger in an elevator. And Maureen, I could tell you everything about Maureen. She's half Irish, your receptionist. She's half Irish. She's half Scottish. Her sister named her kid Paisley, which is a city in Scotland. All right. After that, that's focusing on people's Ford. And the reason is we are genetically coded to be self-absorbed. It sounds like a bad word, but listen, it's my flight that was delayed. It's my client that's threatening to leave us. It's my son that got in trouble, right? So we got to teach ourselves anytime we come in contact with anyone to focus on their Ford.
And that's family,
occupation, recreation, and dreams, right? Family, are you married? Do they have kids? How old are their kids? Occupation, what do they do? What's their title? How long they've been doing it? Recreation is probably the most passionate thing people are, What do you do with your free time? Are you a runner? You lift, you coach little league, baseball, soccer, and then dreams. What's the big thing? What are you doing this for? Where's your dream destination? If you know 2 or more things of someone's Ford after any length of conversation, you not only built a relationship, you own the relationship. Because to each of us, to everyone listening, our own Ford is the most passionate things. And there's certain things, and this is one of them, you don't want to ask me about because I won't shut up, right?
Right.
My son's wrestling, right? I mean, you better have 2 hours if you ask me about that, right? And so when we focus on other people's Fords, it gets us off our own and we're learning. And now we can use that the next time we come in contact.
Well, and I think an underlying thing that goes through everything that you just said is once you have that connection, you now have the foundation of a relationship that can only get stronger. Somebody once defined for me what a connection means in a relationship setting as a circuit where both sides of the circuit are now firing once they are connected to each other, like the plus and the minus, right? Like on a battery. And what you just said with the Ford conversation strikes me as completing that circuit so perfectly that you can now build on it. And I mean, it's intuitive. It makes perfect sense, but I don't think anyone, how did you come up with that?
Just a lot of research and working on it. But let's take it to the personal level, because like I said, I do it to my kids. So as a client or a peer, you want to keep the majority of the Ford on the other person. Now, it is important, be it a client, a peer, that they know some of your Ford, vulnerability and dreams and all that. But you really want to learn about the other person. Now, in all our software, I could pull up my Salesforce and I could pull up you and any Ford that, Nicole, Lindsay, I, have found out that it will be in there, right? In a non-creepy way. But now what I tell my kids and even my employees personally is, my kids are at the dating age. And so one's in college, one's just out of college. And I say, listen, if you're out, and you meet a potential candidate that you may want to date, Forder, all right? I go, and at the end I have a half an hour. Let's say you've been talking to her at a party, wherever you're at, and you Forded her, but she can't tell you one thing about you. I call that the self-absorbed barometer. That's not someone I probably, and we've done it, like you go out to dinner with your significant other's friends and her husband. And now I don't know this guy, so I Ford him. But same thing. After 2 hours, I could tell you his whole life story, but he doesn't even know what I do for a living. That tells me I probably don't want to invest a lot of time in him because, it's just not someone that is interested in building a relationship. He just likes to talk about himself.
On that note, related but different concept, you wrote in one of your books about the difference between energy givers and energy suckers.
Yeah.
Right? It's a related concept?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah. So, and we talked about it. We're all one or the other. At times, we're, hopefully I'm 90% an energy giver and less than 10% a sucker. But it's when you walk in the office and all your employees perk up and, he's here. And I could be late for a conference call, upset about something, and I could just do a beeline back to my office and not said hello to anyone. Or I can come up to an employee and say, Alex, well, what's going on? I got a customer complaint. What's that about? And that's just an energy sucker. Not to say I don't have to address it, but energy givers are someone who's encouraging. I love the word. So my favorite word probably for the past 5 years is energy. And it's so funny. It was really a compliment that when you opened up today, you mentioned it. I love energy. You think about your favorite restaurants, favorite bar, there's an energy about our salon. Hopefully there's an energy about them. And I'll tell you a secret about that. So all our salons have front and back rooms, and hairdressers have a station, right? Her station's in the back, your station's in the front. Well, on slower days and hours, Mondays, Wednesday mornings, when there's only a skeleton crew working, they all have to work up front for energy. Because if you walk in at a Wednesday at 10 and you're like, whoa, it's a ghost town in here. Are they going out of business? Am I the only one that comes here? Now, we could have 4 employees working and they could all have a client, but if they're spread out and so we want to keep the energy. Now, Saturday, it doesn't matter. I mean, we have people in the bathroom cutting hair. I mean, wherever we can find a seat, right? So I love the word energy. My new word, I love ease too, is encourage. I love that word. And so think about encourage. I don't know if anyone's really thought about the actual word encourage. Encourage. The Latin meaning is to put courage in. And I never thought about it that way. And how many people are we putting courage in? Saying, Alex, I know you're going to do it. Don't worry. I believe in you. You're going to make it, right? You're better than that. Next time you have a challenge with the customer, you can't be defensive. You can't do this. You can't do this. You're going to make it. You're going to close more sales. You're going to, whatever that looks like. To my kids, I got to remember that. And so that's really important to me is energy and to be encouraging.
Yeah. I have to tell you, it would strike me that for that to be something you're constantly aware of, you would have to have an incredible level of emotional intelligence and awareness, self-awareness. For me, I just turned 44, and there was a time when I could not turn it off. I was in litigation, and it was all pit bull, all go for the jugular.
I mean, you're taught to fight and look for holes in people's stories. Right. I can't fathom what that's like. So
it's only been within the last 10, probably 7 years, which is about how long I've run this law firm, that I've had the wherewithal to be self-aware and to cultivate that self-awareness. And for me, it takes a constant diligence, right? Like I have a morning routine, right, that involves affirmations and gratitude and meditation. I got to throw in yoga in there, a lot of exercise, right? But if I don't do that routine, something's off.
Right.
And it takes all of those things. And it's taken years to create that level of cultivation for me to be an energy giver on a consistent basis. I want to know how you do it. And whether it's on a daily basis, what the journey was to get to that point, but what is your story on how you've gotten to this level, to this point? Well,
you answered it, and I'm pretty sure, I'm not an expert at it, but I'm pretty sure you could share your best practice, and it would be perfect for answering your question. But I do have experience with it. So, we talk about missions. I have a company mission and vision and all that, and we advertise it and we story tell it, and constantly to new employees, existing employees, constantly. And so just like you, I do the same thing. If you saw my bathroom mirror, it's affirmations. And so I have a personal purpose statement, okay? And it's to live an extraordinary life, so countless others do. And the second half is the real part. And so the Customer Service Revolution book, this is the whole last chapter. It's to live an extraordinary life, so countless others. And what I'm going to explain to you is all in there. And I don't want to live an extraordinary life so I leave a better legacy and I have more cars and vacations and money in the bank. I feel and know that every human being has a certain amount of seeds of potential in them. And it's not our right or prerogative to fulfill those seeds. It's our responsibility. We owe it. And so think about if Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Steve Jobs, Walt Disney, whoever, Oprah Winfrey, the people who've changed the world, what if they just said, screw it. I'm just going to be ordinary. How different would our worlds be? And you've had multiple people, I've had multiple people in my life that were extraordinary, and I wouldn't be sitting here with a story to tell had they just said, screw it. So I look at it as it's an obligation to reach my fullest potential, because the ripple effect it's going to have on my three boys, my 150 employees, my thousands, 10,000s of customers. And so what that looks like is if me and you have any connection and you're eating donuts for lunch, and I say, dude, what are you doing? Now, there's one way to look at it is you could say, mind your own business. That is my business, because you're going to be less than the best version of yourself, which is going to affect me as someone who works for you, who's dependent on you, you're in my family. If I eat like crap today and don't get a workout in, I come home and my kids want to play catch. I'm like, no. I just need to collapse I'm irritable. What did I just do to them? Right? I'm cheating them. So to your point, so now just having a phrase, live an extraordinary life so countless others do, is just a platitude. You got to put some teeth to it. So on my mirror, on my visor of my car, in my wallet is the 3 pillars personally and the 3 pillars professionally that I have to take care of. And so health, right? What am I feeding my mind, my body, my soul? Who am I hanging around with, right? That makes me more positive, that says, hey, didn't you tell her you were going to be home by 8? It's about 7:15. Why don't we get on the road? Versus, hey, screw it. Let's have another one. We are the average of the people we hang around. Personal development, professional development, all those things. So that's like a report card. And trust me, more times than I like to admit, I'm not living an extraordinary life. But what's really cool is when I'm not, I can go to that list and I could see right away what is deficient that I need to start watering. I need to start paying attention to, because I'm cheating others. A lot of people depend on all of us. And if we don't do our best to live an extraordinary life, they won't.
John, who were your coaches, either in terms of authors or teachers or humans that you interacted with or just learned from?
I just always, my mother was a great role model to me. She raised 6 kids all on her own and never had worked until she was 50. And she just never complained. She never was a victim. And she just believed in us. And she just told me that every day, these 4 words, I believe in you. Even when teachers would call, principals would call, maybe the police stopped by. And people didn't think she was tough enough on me. She'd always stick up for us and say, no, you're going to make it. I believe in you. That's a gift, right? That's a gift.
I want to go back to an earlier topic, which was the scaling of your business. Mm-hmm. We talked about the early years of the salon.
Yeah.
And it's fairly clear to me how it grew in those early years.
Yeah.
I want to hear a little bit about some of the other, and hockey sticks that's a fashionable term these days. But I do want to hear a little bit about that. What other moments of scale, other hockey sticks did you experience in your business as it grew? And maybe it was just when you acquired new space or new people or whatever. But can you think of times when your business just sort of blew up? And are you able to pinpoint why that happened?
Yeah. So in the mid 90s, so we opened in 92, and in the mid 90s, we are growing. But in that time, people started asking me, you guys are doing something pretty cool with customer service. Can you speak at the chamber? I'm like, really? Yeah, I'd love to. Can you speak? And then every time I spoke, I got 2 or 3 opportunities from people that come up and say, do you do this for businesses? And I'm like, sure. And they're like, well, how much do you charge? I'm like, what? I'm like, I didn't know you could charge, right? So then I started speaking. I started getting asked to speak at bigger conferences. And then I started seeing the real speakers and authors on main stage. I was like going to break out in the basement where I belong. And so I'd wait in line because I really enjoyed it. I liked the buzz, and I wanted to do it a little bit more, but I wanted to get outside the beauty industry. And that's all I was really speaking at in the mid 90s. So I waited in line and got to speak to the big keynote speaker, and I'd introduce myself. And this was a really huge life lesson for me. They were so kind. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm a speaker too. I'm downstairs. And they were so generous. And they're like, here's my number. We didn't have emails back then. We didn't have even cell phone numbers back then. But these were huge, huge celebrity authors, right? And they were like, I'd be happy. And so they said, here's what you got to do. You got to write a book. You got to do this. You got to get a website. And they told me all this. I did everything they said. And around 2002, my first book came out. And at that time, I went from a salon owner that spoke to a speaker that owned salons. And literally since 2003, I haven't been involved in the salons. I got great management. I got someone that's been with me for 22 years that now is an equity partner. And he is so committed that he'll make me feel guilty for the lack of passion I have compared to him. So the salons are growing. They're doing great, but I can't take any credit for it since 2002. So now I'm in the speaking industry and written some books, and now I spend 99.9% of my time, and now that's exploding. And now we're consulting with people. But kind of my point to that is I couldn't believe how generous these super successful people were. And so the point is that if they come to Cleveland, they stay at my house. If I come to their city, I stay at their house. I mean, they've written forwards for me. And I've always tried to do that for anyone at any level, thinking about opening your own business, thinking about being a speaker. I've always tried to, sit down and give them as much time because people were so generous to me. And I will tell you that in some cases, I've gotten to where these people were faster than them because of the advice they gave me. They say, just like you could to a new lawyer, don't do this, this, and this, right. What I did, because that slowed my progress down. And by telling me kind of what your worst practices are is almost better than telling me your best practices, because I was just about to step on the same landmines because they made sense to me.
I'm glad you said landmines, because my next question is, and I'm going to ask it and then we're going to take a break.
Sure.
What about the opposite, the failures? In the last 26 years, can you think of, other than that first failure that you talked about, a couple times that in a very real and meaningful way, you erred, you made a mistake in your business, and you weren't sure if you were coming back up? So think about that, and we're going to be right back. Hey folks, Alex Gertzberg here. I am CEO of the Gertzberg Law Firm and Cover My Six, and I hope you're enjoying the show so far. I wanted to take a quick second to tell you about something special we're doing at Cover My Six. If you own or run a business, I want you to go to covermysix.com to see if you qualify for a no-cost business vulnerability assessment. My business lawyers will meet with you in person, go over your customer contract, your employee handbook, and your other key legal documents, and help you spot any legal minefields that they see. We'll also give you some guidance on how to stop those minefields from blowing up your business. So go to covermysix.com to see if you qualify and to sign up. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of the show. All right, John, failures. Defined any way you want, and I got a feeling you define it the same way as I do, which is they're all learning experiences.
Yeah, Tony Robbins said it best. Life doesn't happen to you; it happens for you.
Right.
And it goes back to my father. If he was the father he should have been, I wouldn't be the father I'm trying to be. Right. And so we have to look at it that way. I hate the victim mentality. Like that's one of my flaws. Is I just
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Like the victim mentality.
And it's like you try not to judge people.
Right.
I try really hard to be non-judgmental, but that's one area I'm just like you. Like if I start hearing excuses and why me and poor me,
right.
It's hard for me
there
to
comes
stay.
a time where you got to stop blaming your parents' divorce and that your dad drank, right? I mean, listen, you're 35. Okay, that's not why you're in this predicament. Right. And to the point where my biggest pet peeve is when I ask people how they're doing. Okay. So far, so good. It's 8 a.m. What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
And look at headline news and in 2 seconds, you're going to find out you're doing really good.
Yeah.
And, there's only a couple of things that I don't care what if I got in a car accident, thank God no one was hurt.
Right.
Right. Thank God my kids weren't in the car. Thank God, whatever it is, there's very few things that, I'm doing awesome. Even when I'm not, I am.
This is why two people with ADD go on tangents. The question is failures. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, less now, but there has been too many times that I've sat in my driveway and couldn't get out, maybe because I was feeling sorry for myself because of a decision or a lapse in judgment I've been making. And I wonder, am I going to have this house in 6 months? Will I have over 100 employees looking for a job as a result of something I did or didn't do or whatever? And so I can give you all it's several examples of that. But what always shakes me out of it is going back to those cocktail napkins. So the salon business. Why did we get into it? And if it was to make more money and have more free time, which most entrepreneurs think, right? And it never was for me. I'd be pissed and bitter and stay like that. But it was to enhance the quality of lives around us, team member, guest, community. And then I do an audit. All right, how are we doing with that? Well, we're taking care of our employees. We have employees making pretty good livings. Some of them the primary breadwinner, and I think living a life, that maybe they wouldn't elsewise. Customers, we're growing a customer base, and I think we're giving them an escape to their daily lives. And then we do a lot in the community. And so when I think about that, it gives me fuel to march on and go to battle and wear that the armor and go through hell, whatever I'm going through, versus woe is me. And, and then I also think of, this is why I became an entrepreneur. I didn't become an entrepreneur because I knew it was always going to be great times and money would be flowing in. I wanted to be that guy, that person. And when shit hit the fan, I figured it out. But listen, 10 years ago, I lost my wife. Okay. Hard, worst thing that could ever happen. But going back to that exercise that you do and I do to live an extraordinary life, so countless others, that prevented me. I wanted to curl up and say woe is me, and now I got 3 boys and do all this and why. But when you look at things, you realize you can't. You got people depending on you. And, what would that do to my boys? What would that do to my employees who have all bought into my vision and they trusted me and gave up opportunities elsewhere because I told them, here's where we're going and you're going to be part of this. And so those things have helped me not be the victim, even when, you can probably argue that, you should be or could be, and look at it from an advantage standpoint and say, not instead of why me, how lucky I was to have her for 19 years, how lucky my boys were to have her as their parent. And now, how lucky my company was to have her as really the founding person of the salon, and to celebrate that and to use that as a positive instead of a negative.
Jen G's chair was right next to your wife's chair.
Yeah.
And every time I got a haircut there, There's still her picture there. I guess nobody uses that mirror.
Shrine.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I want to know about the day that the light bulb went off for Believe in Dreams. What happened that day that made you come up with this extraordinary idea?
It's growing up with the way I did and poor but I told you about my mother and I didn't know I was poor, and I just had so much support. And I had 5 brothers and sisters that just looked after me, and they were just encouraging. So as we've become grown and more successful, I just realized that there's a lot of kids out there. So I originally was going to do something. I wanted to do something charitable, and kids have always been our passion since we opened. And so I was thinking, all right, how can we get more involved? So we originally were going to get involved in Make-A-Wish, which I absolutely think is the best organization alive. So when I started doing research, I realized that there was a unfilled niche, that Make-A-Wish does such an extraordinary job for terminally ill kids, but no one takes care of kids with non-medical conditions who are disadvantaged, who are poverty, who have seen their mother's boyfriend beat her to death, whose father's in prison, incarcerated, whose house is burned down. And so, when I was starting to investigate how we can do more, I saw that there was this completely open area that I had a little bit of history with, but these kids and mine don't compare. So when we started Believe in Dreams, it was to fulfill and give hope to kids that ordinarily wouldn't have it. And worse than the circumstances they've been through, worse than that, is that they have no imagination. And what I mean by that is we thought, all right, man, we're not going to be able, to do too many dreams a year because they're going to be big, hairy, audacious dreams of going to Disney and, all this stuff. And so we'll ask a kid, a deserving kid who had just been through every story will make you cry. And we'll say, hey, what do you want? Anything. And the kid says, anything? Yeah, anything. And we're like holding our breath, hoping we could do it, right? And he says, a bed without bugs. We're like,
wow.
What? And then another kid says a newer pair of shoes. Just a newer pair of shoes. Not new, not Air Jordans, just a newer pair of shoes. And then a little girl, and like I said, their stories, it'll make you tear up. A little girl says, I would love to buy homeless McDonald's gift certificates. And so while that's so sweet and humbling, there's a challenge there that they don't have an imagination. They don't think even tickets to an Indians game or lessons for, dance is even an option. And that's the challenge that we have with trying to help these kids. We want them to realize it's a freaking amazing life out there, and you have a chance to make it happen, and we will help you get there. So we had a kid that's telling us most recently that he wants to be he's 13, wants to be a comic book writer, author, whatever that is. All right, so we're like, good. So here's something big. And so what do you want? And he's like, I'd love to have markers to write in my notebook. Just markers. And so we ended up giving him lessons, sending him to school. He's shadowing a professional comic for a day to see. We give him a lot of things. But that's the trouble. And that's, kind of like, I don't want to say frustration, but that's where I see the real tragedy is worse than what they've been experiencing is now that their mindset they don't have an imagination. Like, if I go to my kids and say, hey, we're going to go to Disney this weekend, they'd be like, again,
right.
And I'm not proud of that. Right. These kids wouldn't even, they never been to a game. They've never been outside Cuyahoga County. They've never been outside, maybe a 4-block radius.
What is the feedback that you get from the kids and their parents? Not right away, because I imagine they're blown away by it, but do you follow up with them a few years later? Do you hear some of their stories and how they grew or reacted to what you did for them?
Yeah, so right away is really amazing because their eyes are just popping out and they just can't stop smiling, and it's really, really cool that. And then to see whoever it is, their mom, their aunt, their grandmother, who's ever taken care of them, they'll be crying because they've never seen them this happy, right? But we have alumni events, And so like we have one coming up in September. It's at the zoo, and it's a race of like a 5K run and walk. And then the kids will come and talk, and who wants to, and tell their story. And it's so cool because some of them are want to come back and contribute now, and to tell how this made a difference. And our first dreamer is just a fantastic story of just that. It just gave him a whole new outlook that, the world isn't this horrible, dark place, because sometimes their exposure to a small group of people is.
Yeah. I probably should have asked you this at the beginning of that part of this conversation, and I'm going to ask everybody to go to the Believe in Dreams website where they can see believeindreams.org. But what's the range of things that you've done for these kids over the years? Yeah,
take them to Indians games. They get to meet their favorite player. One story was really cute. A couple of weeks ago, the kid wanted his favorite player is Baker Mayfield, so we'd send him to Baker Mayfield camp, and there was 700 kids there, and in Baker Mayfield, the Browns didn't know anything about this. And he asked 700 kids, who would like to catch a pass from me? 700 kids' hands go up, and Baker Mayfield picks our kid. And not knowing. And I mean, it was just the most awesome thing. So, stuff like that. Give him lessons to, they want to be artists, they want to be musicians, but they could never afford it. Give him a day of pamper, a 13th birthday party where they bring 10 friends to the spa, and they all get their nails and feet done and hair blown out, and just stuff that they ordinarily wouldn't experience.
Yeah. And it's a nonprofit. Folks can donate by going to that website.
Yeah. And we have some events that they can attend.
Yeah. All right, John, you ready for the lightning round?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Because these are tough questions.
Yeah, they've already been tough.
Well, it's. I mean, this is going to get complex. All right.
Do I need a lawyer?
You might. So ordinarily, sitting to your left would be my intrepid co-host, Molly Gebler, who would be asking her questions. She's not here. I will ask her questions. Pretend that I am a
Molly.
Exactly.
Okay.
John, what are you binging these days?
Whew. Nothing on TV because it's summer, and so I just love being outside. I think it's just taking advantage of the summer, and I'm a baseball fanatic, so I watch everything. Went to the All-Star, and just hanging out with my boys because the time is getting shorter and shorter before they're all gone.
I always feel so weird asking Molly's questions because I don't watch TV.
So she meant TV.
Yeah.
And if it's the winter, I could tell you.
All right.
Like Ozark.
Yes, I love Ozark.
Yes.
That's a good one. I make an exception for Ozark and Fargo. Do you ever watch Fargo?
No.
It's like, if you like Ozark, watch Fargo. Fantastic.
So yeah, I only watch ESPN.
Yeah.
Like normally, but in the winter, yeah, we will get into like an Ozark, which I really liked, and Pacific, which is another one that my son wanted to watch. But A, they aren't on this time of year, and B, we just don't want to be inside.
Molly's next lightning round question is...
I thought she meant like double stuffed Oreos.
I think she would accept that.
Okay.
Yeah. Her next lightning round question is, a perfect day for John DiJulius is what?
Getting up and getting a really early and being by myself for, in the silent city outside of my patio, and then just getting a killer workout in that's just exhausting, and then getting a shower, and then getting my kids up and getting them ready, and then if I'm working, which is cool, just interacting with great people, great clients, great team members, and having a great dinner with my fiance. We like to sit at a bar.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We like to sit at a bar. I love going to a bar because community. Anyone that sits at the bar wants to be engaged. If you're sitting at a table, it'd be unusual to talk to. So we like to engage with people you learn so much about, and you get great service, which I'm addicted to, because the bartender's always there. You need something, they're there. Versus a table, you're like, hey, send a flare gun, right?
Yeah.
So that, but I want to go to bed. A good day for me, a great day for me, is to go to bed thoroughly worn out, physically, mentally, and emotionally. That I am just spent. That is a good day for me.
Wow. Do you ever go to Crumb and Spigot on 306?
I have not.
That's a great bar. So my girlfriend and I have a Sunday night thing where we sit at the bar at Crumb and Spigot. It's the best food in the world. And it's the same atmosphere. Great bartenders, great people around there.
Are they a sponsor?
No. They should be, though.
Kidding,
They should.
right?
Come on, Crumb and Spigot.
What's going on?
I'll keep
here?
talking about you. Molly's third lightning round question. You see the irony in the lightning round. It's never really fast, right?
Right. I can make it faster if you do.
Yeah. No. It's intentionally ironic.
3.
And this is how she would say it. She'd say, John, what's on your mind?
Oh, it's where you're catching me. In the summer, I work a little less because my full-time job is speaking and traveling. And, in the summer it slows down because people don't have as many conventions in the summer. And I have one more week of work and I take August off. I work, but it's on creative stuff. But it's just a good time of year where I'm usually not like this. Usually I'm frazzled and, I too many things and,
Shocking.
But right now I sleep like a baby. Every 2 hours I wake up and cry my eyes out. No, I mean, right now it's a good place. My boys are home and a lot more free time than typical. So I'm a different person in the summer. My fiance calls me Vacation John. And she's like, I fell in love I met you when you were on vacation and I fell in love with you. And then I kind of got ripped off because 11 months of the year, you're not Vacation John.
Yeah. All right. So that's Molly's. Then we have a question that we named after Christy George, who is a journalist, and she's got this great magazine called Neighbors that she publishes. And
the Christy George question?
Yeah, it's called the Christy.
The Christy?
Yeah, this question is called the Christy. The Christy is, if you could interview anyone who ever lived, who would it be?
God, I think I've written that down. I don't know. I think of people I'd love to have beers with, and which is different, but I don't have an answer for that. I'm not I should be either more spiritual or someone deep, but I'd love to have beers with Ashton Kutcher, Matthew McConaughey. They just seem like really good dudes.
Yeah.
So that's my answer, which is probably not, I did not do Christy justice.
No, I think those are good. I'd like to have a beer with Matthew McConaughey, actually.
Man.
Yeah, he's a good cat. All right, so those are appetizers. Here's the hard stuff, right? It's coming at you now, right? These are my lightning round questions.
These are Alex.
Yeah. You are shipwrecked on a desert island for a minimum of 3 months, but potentially for the rest of your natural born life.
Okay.
You may bring with you any single musician's entire discography.
Oh.
Who's the musician?
I was just thinking about that the other day. I was listening to my playlist I haven't listened to, and I was just thinking, man, I love the old Bruce Springsteen. There's someone else I really liked. My favorite all time, I don't know. I like old music.
Now you're going to be listening to this dude for the rest of your life, potentially.
I know that's tough.
So you've got a discography that you've got to.
Beatles are tough to beat. I think it might be the Beatles. I did see Elvis. Not many people could say this.
I saw him
in live.
Get out of here.
I was 10, a year before he died. And the coolest thing about Elvis, I don't know where it was in Cleveland. My sister took me. I loved him. So I saw him. And so Elvis, if you remember, he just had these costumes.
Yeah.
And between sets, between a song, lights would go out pitch black. Like you couldn't see. And they'd come back on within seconds. He'd be in a completely different costume. Lights go out. Lights go back on. Completely different. Lights go out. And they stay out. And all of a sudden the announcer comes on and says, Elvis has left the building. I was like, wow. I always want someone to do. Can you do that when I leave? Can you say
Yes.
John has left the
Yeah,
building? I just thought that was so cool, right?
All right, but you're saying it's the Beatles.
Beatles.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Huge, wide selection there.
Yes.
Good discography.
Yeah.
Same shipwreck.
Okay.
Same period of time.
Well, I would hope I didn't have more than one.
Well,
Hopefully I'm smarter not to go back on a ship.
that could be a follow-up question.
Okay.
All I know is anywhere from 3 months to the rest of your life,
Yes.
you may bring with you any single author's entire bibliography. Who's the author?
I'm obsessed with Howard Schultz's books. He's written 3, and it's probably not a good choice because I'm really bad. I'm very narrow and deep. I don't read fiction. And so, someone like James Patterson, well, mine, screw it. I'm bringing mine.
I mean, you got like 5 of them, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that'll keep you busy.
No. Unfortunately, I wish I had a imagination, but I only read business books and motivation. So Howard Schultz is probably the only person I've read all of his books. He just inspires me.
They're a client of yours. Do you know? Have you met Howard Schultz?
I have not. He signed a book for me, and he was like in his office with the door closed when I was there. One time when I was there, and it wouldn't have been pretty. I've been like hugging him and stuff, and they would have called security.
Yeah. Is he still running for president?
He's not.
He stopped.
I forget why. And I really didn't want him to, only because I was afraid what I'd find out, right? Or whether it's fake news or real news. But
right.
I can't get enough of him. His speeches, his commencement speeches, just everything he ever says.
Yeah, he's amazing. What is a habit or routine that you do on a regular basis that has given you the most mileage?
God, I know I got some. I'm like, there's some things I'm really proud of, but on the spot, I'm not good with this.
Take your time, man. These are hard questions.
Yeah. I think this may or may not fit, but I like collecting rare people. I really do. Like the compliments I've gotten are like everyone I've ever met through you, I really like. And like I'm kind of picky. I could be acquaintances a lot, but I only let like a certain amount and a certain type in because we get influenced by that. And no matter what, if we spend time together, you're going to rub off on me, and good or bad, I'm going to rub off on you. And I'm really picky on who I let rub off on me. And so how you want to be the dumbest person in the room. I want to be the weakest character in the room. I want everyone in that room just to make me a better person.
Yeah. Okay, your last and final, and by far the most difficult lightning round question, and quite possibly the most difficult question that anyone has ever asked you.
Yes.
What is an embarrassing thing about yourself that very few people know, and for extra credit, for bonus, that nobody else knows?
Oh. I flunked gym in high school, freshman year.
Like for attitude or why?
No, it'll make sense. It's embarrassing because I was an athlete, right? How do you flunk gym? I had to go to summer school for gym because I went to St. Joe's back when it was St. Joe's, and we had these professional athletes that be kids in my class that became Mike Golick, and they were men. And I was like 72 pounds, 4'11" my freshman year, and I was not going in the shot. So we had to wear a uniform. And change. And I was not going in that locker room. I mean, I was a little boy compared to these men. So I didn't know that every day I didn't change into the gym clothes. I got knocked for not being there. And so I flunked it. So that's one. And then when I was a junior, going into my senior year of high school, I was... with a bunch of guys, we were skinny dipping in a pool, and we got arrested and taken to the police station without a stitch of clothing. Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
All right, John, you have passed the lightning round.
Oh, good. Because Molly's not here.
Right.
You're an easier grader.
Well, that's true too. in our final moment or two, by the way, I will say this. I noticed because we've got a crack research team here, as you know. You were in Crane's 40 Under 40 in 2002, and I was Crane's 40 Under 40 in like 2011.
Yeah.
To give
I
us,
told you we weren't the same generation.
Yeah. All right. So your newest book is The Relationship Economy.
Correct.
You've got a conference coming up in September. This is your annual big deal conference.
In Cleveland, yes.
Yeah.
September 11th and 12th at the Convention Center.
Yeah.
The Customer Service Revolution.
You know, so it's interesting. I've actually heard about it by, random attendees would have told me, but I got the most information about it from the woman who cuts my hair, Haley.
Really?
Right. And she
works at it?
Yeah. She said it's this amazing thing. Talk about that. What is
so
it?
We have 20 speakers every year. I mean, huge names. $50,000 keynote speakers. I'm by far the worst speaker of the lineup. And we got a guy that climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, which is pretty impressive. But what's more impressive is he has no arms or legs.
Wow.
Yeah, Kyle Maynard. So it's typically around the experience, the human experience, the treating employees and customers, but there's a lot of inspiration and entertainment that goes along with it. So it's 2 days in Cleveland, and there's about 800 people that come from all over the world. We've had people come from Qatar in the Middle East, Australia, Israel. Most, I would say probably 95% come from the U.S., shockingly, probably less than by far 5% come from Northeast Ohio. It's crazy. 800 people, and there might be, maybe 40 people from Northeast Ohio. So we don't do a good job of getting the word out here.
Yeah, well, I'd say you're doing all right. And this is like your how many years you've been doing
this? This is our 11th.
11th
Keeps
year.
on getting bigger
Wow.
every year.
Was it your first book that was called The Customer Service Revolution?
It used to be called Secret Service. Very good.
That was it.
And we had to change it last year because the Secret Service called.
Is that right?
Yeah, and they said, we don't like that you use it. I go, I'm glad you called because I think you guys could change your name. And then I got audited, and so I changed the
name. You should have called me. I'd have talked to him about
right,
copyright
right.
infringement. All right, so I mean, you're an exceptional author. You gave me your book. I read it. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
And you've got this conference coming up in September. Anything else you want to get out there into the universe, John?
No. I appreciate you having me. I'm very flattered to be one of your guests.
This was fantastic. I officially declare this episode a success. John, thank you very much. That was awesome. Folks, if you're listening this far into this podcast, that means that you are John's fiance.
Yes.
John's kids.
Right.
Probably John's employees, probably
right.
my employees, and about 2,000 other people. And so here's what I want you to do as a personal favor to me. Number one, check out Believe in Dreams, because it's insane what you guys are doing
Thank
there.
you.
Yeah, it's amazing. So go there and check that out and figure out how you can play a role. Because among other things, John, I mean, to your, life purpose, I mean, you really are a vehicle for creating change for other people and allowing people to create change through you, right? So check that out, folks. Number one. Number two, whatever you're listening on right now, there is a really good chance, whether it's Spotify or Stitcher or whatever, iTunes, there's a good chance that you are able to rate this podcast or leave a review. So do that, unless you hate it, and then don't do it. But tell me. Mm-hmm. so we can make it better. You can go to thebest.podcastever.com. You can contact us through there. But yeah, leave a review and leave a rating, and that would be awesome. And then hit subscribe, and that way you will be among the first people to know when episodes just like this get dropped, so you can hear it. John, thank you. That was amazing.
Thank you,
appreciate
Alex. I appreciate it. I like what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Folks, thanks for tuning in. We will catch you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we thank you for listening. And remember to check out the Gertzberg Law Firm if you're starting, running, growing, or transitioning a business, or if you need to create or update your wills, trusts, or estate plan. Our firm and our lawyers are among the highest caliber and well-recognized professionals in the field. We are veteran-owned, have the highest rankings from Super Lawyers and the other key attorney rating organizations, and we were recently added to the coveted Weatherhead 100. More than being respected by our peers, our clients rely on us to successfully defend them in court, help them avoid the courtroom with our Cover My Six service, protect their assets, and for many non-legal business services like recruiting and business development. More than just litigators, we are trusted advisors, problem solvers, and growers of businesses. Let us help you and your company. Call us or find us online to learn more. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time.
Ladies and gentlemen, John has left the building.